Hello and welcome to the Service-Based Business Society podcast. I'm your host, Tiffany-Ann Bottcher. I left the corporate world to build my own businesses, and along the way, I've learned that scaling isn't all highlight reels. It's messy, it's hard, and it's totally worth it. As a mom of three, the author of The Data-Driven Method, and a serial entrepreneur, I know firsthand what it takes to build something bigger than yourself. This show is where we get real about entrepreneurship. The good, the bad, the beautiful, and yes, even the ugly. Each week, I'll pull back the curtain to share stories, lessons, and strategies that help ambitious entrepreneurs scale their success. So let's get started. Every so often, you meet someone in business who just gets it. They're not only ahead of the curve, but they also truly want to share that knowledge and bring you along with them. For me, that person is James Hurst. We first connected inside the HighLevel community, the very platform I use to run my business and the same one that I recommend and have our Goal-Getter Media team build out for clients. Since then, that digital introduction turned into a real partnership. My bookkeeping company handles James' books, and even more than that, I've seen firsthand how his mind works. And let me tell you, it's truly fascinating. James is the host of The Marketing Show, where he breaks down tools like HighLevel, automation workflows, AI strategies, and more in a way that's smart, accessible, and refreshingly human. He's also the founder of GHL Bounty Hunters, a global 24/7 tech support agency that lets high-level users name their price for help on a bounty-based, pay-only-on-delivery model that rethinks what support can look like. On the entrepreneurial side, James owns DDX Web and Window Cleaner CRM, high-level agencies tailored for niche markets. He's built elegant, practical tools in his snapshot store as well, like automated appointment reminders, smart review request workflows, even ticketing systems, all designed to help businesses run smoother and scale faster. Before all of this, James was a software developer, so systems, automation, and tech fluency are all just second nature. James is a two-time ClickFunnels Dream Car winner, and in 2023, he earned HighLevel's Affiliate Bronze Award for his affiliate content and community impact. So today, we're diving into the world of automation, community, and systems that scale but still feel personal. So, welcome to the show, James.
Thank you. Good to be here.
It's so nice to have you on the podcast. I feel like, we've been in kind of the orbit of each other for such a long time through Go HighLevel and kind of the online business space. So it's nice to have you here and chat with you a little bit about how we connected and Go HighLevel and on all the cool things that you're working on.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been at least a few years, and now you're also keeping my books, right? So we get an extra.
That's true. Yeah.
A few extra reasons to connect throughout the year.
Yeah, it's nice to, I look forward to our calls to discuss some of those things because it's interesting. We obviously do different things, but existing in kind of that online business space is unique at times. And I think only people who really are doing those things all the time and might not really understand some of the pros and cons and challenges and amazing parts and all of the everything in between.
I think like today's call, it's like, hey, can I show you what I'm working on? And it's like, and then a 15-minute cool thing with AI or whatever. But yeah.
I think that's, as a business owner, you don't often get, like that, can I show you what I'm working on? Because we lots of people do so many cool things. And it's like, who do you show it to sometimes? You don't want to go to a client and be like, oh my gosh, I just did the coolest thing with your stuff, because that's not super professional. But you also, you don't really get that same thing. I actually, a few months ago, I added on my, like when a client signs an agreement, our workflow in Go HighLevel, it also sends my husband a notification. So he gets the same. I get like the little celebration emoji and it says like such and such client has signed for this program. And so I thought, well, that's kind of fun. So now I send it to him. And so now he'll be like, oh, I saw you had a great day. I saw another thing come through. That's exciting. And so it's interesting because it just kind of, stimulates the conversation and we have that exciting moment together.
Yeah. I know. I think I've talked about it with my wife. I should, when a payment comes through or something, I could notify her because she never knows if things are going well or not. Yeah,
it's interesting how you're a partner in business can be. Some people are so involved. My husband and I actually met working together, and so we obviously work so closely together. And then you kind of are doing different things. And some people never work with their partner, and their partners stay completely out of their business. I remember listening. Actually, it was like the Dave Ramsey, the Money Guy podcast, and this wife called in and she's like, so my husband, he's been working in his business for a long time and I didn't realize he'd added like all these extra mortgages to everything and we're completely broke and I had no idea. And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
that's super stressful.
Yeah. No, my wife doesn't really get involved much. Sometimes we talk about, hey, what are you working on?
Mm-hmm.
Today I was telling her about brand boards. I don't know if you've ever played with Canva brand boards, but she wasn't really aware. And so, there's plenty to clue her in on ChatGPT. I think I've got her using ChatGPT. She sees it's a better Google search at least. So yeah, she's bound to just get exposed to all kinds of things with, being married to me.
I've been trying to get my husband on ChatGPT for a while, and he always doesn't. He's super nerdy. I feel like this would be right up his alley, but he's never really bit on it, if you know what I mean. And then he came home from this like business networking thing, and he's like, "Did you know that ChatGPT?" And I was like, "Wait, are you going to tell me?" I was like, "Oh, I don't know about this."
It has definitely become my. I'm ChatGPT first. I don't Google near as much as I used to. It just gets you directly to the answers. Also, I've been thinking about maybe a podcast or something. Like, why is it a better search? And I do love that one of the things is like, it just has all that context. And like, if you search for something, let's say Mother's Day presents, when you do a new search, it doesn't have that context of the previous one, but it's almost like you can amend your search and it kind of has that history. And then it's like, it gets you more directly to the answer too. So yeah, I think the game has changed, right? And podcasts like this is how we stay on top of it.
For sure. Absolutely. I find that, talking to people about AI really falls into two camps. You've got the people who talk about AI who are, they're so excited, but they're using it for just like a few small things. And then every so often you have a discussion about AI and it is like your mind blown. Maybe it's something that you just had no idea it could do. And I think that it's evolving so quickly that even if it couldn't have done something before, now even weeks, months later, you're like, wow, it's changed so much. So I'm curious, what are different ways that you are currently using AI in your business?
Yeah. So, okay, I'm not that much of a graphic designer, but I've always had this dream that I could take a quote. I wanted to quickly make quotes. In fact, the dream is not completely there. Like, let's say you said something really cool on this podcast and it was very, very quotable. I would love to be able to take your some hero images of you basically creating. I wanted to kind of create quote cards either of myself or other people. So, and it's just too expensive to pay someone, just to make a cool quote meme. But I've just been collecting quotes and I've loved saving off quotes for so long. And what I can do now, I actually made a little custom GPT and basically I take let's just say to be or not to be, the classic one from Shakespeare. All I do is I put the quote in the thing and it knows to take the words and to create imagery around those words, right? So maybe let's say the quote was, a drop in the ocean is, or don't boil the ocean with all your endeavors. It will naturally create imagery around the ocean that makes sense to the quote. And then I have another little instruction, which is to put themarketingshow.com as a little offset. So all I have to do now is I just put a quote in and you know what? The GPT, all it does is create an image generation prompt. It doesn't actually create the image. And so using AI to create AI prompts is a thing, right? And so then I copy that prompt and put it into an AI that is more built for images. Another thing I've learned is yes, there's certain AIs that are purpose built for images. Claude, I've started using Claude. It's more, I know how it kind of writes. It's more purpose built for writing. Mm-hmm. And then another thing, I think this is a big thing that everyone in any business will do is this idea of creating a custom GPT or maybe a Claude project for each client. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if I keep on seeing this theme. And so I could say, you could put all this in one prompt, say, hey, my custom client is a handyman and these are the business areas he serves and this is what he does. can you please write me some content? Either let's say it's replying to reviews, or I want to build out some content for their page or some social media posts. The first step you would do is to give the GPT or the Claude project all the context. This is the client's name. This is their website. Maybe scrape it. You basically give it this, tell it who it is. And then from there, you can say, hey, give me an email sequence. Give me a service page for my website. Reply to this review. Any of the things, any of these tasks that you want to do. And now has the context of that client. And I think, yeah, I don't know. I think that's very powerful.
I feel like when you're talking about kind of giving it that context, it's no different than hiring a new person and having to give them training and information. Hey, this is what we do here. This is what's important to my business. These are the things we would never say. We don't say this to clients. We don't and people will put stuff in and not get a great result. And then they kind of are like, it didn't really work. And they go a different direction. Think back to a conversation you and I were having about bots and how I said, hey, I actually I started with this really early. I was like, hey, this is super cool. Let's go in. And it was just inconsistent at first and I couldn't really get it. And so I was like, I'll come back to this later. Like it just wasn't ready yet. And so I think that's often, but it's making sure that you actually do come back because sometimes, maybe there's a new model, maybe you learn how to prompt it differently and the end result can be just light years different.
Yeah. So, if the stuff is not ready, like you're kind of getting ready along with it and you're kind of just right there. So just a side note, have you heard of Nano Banana? Have you heard of that yet?
No.
Okay, so it's something I wanted to look into, but it's supposed to be, and I'm not even sure if it's images or videos, but it's supposed to be like really, really good. It's new. What about VO3? Have you heard of Google VO3?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I finally started playing with that too. So this is text to video generation. And I think maybe Nano Banana. I don't even know if I'm saying that right, but that was like the internal name for it, and it just stuck.
Right.
But supposedly it's just really good. I think it'll be expensive, but I think, how Toy Story was like the first animated full feature-length film? I think someone's going to be soon claiming to be the first 100% AI-generated film. I wonder what it will be.
It's interesting because my biggest complaint about AI in general is consistency. So, and sometimes you can get, especially on the image side, less on the text. I feel like I have a good relationship with my ChatGPT and Claude. I use Claude as well.
You do too?
And I feel like, I know which purpose I would use, when would I open Claude versus ChatGPT. And honestly, I use ChatGPT extensively for a very long time. It was more recently that I got into Claude and really kind of saw its strengths as well. But I find on the image side, I struggle to get consistency. So I'll be like, this is exactly what I want. And then I can't get it again. And I know that there's a lot of people that are doing much better with consistency. So it's something I work at. But I actually had this thing and I was able to, with AI, kind of animate this cartoon drawing. And it was so perfect for what I needed it for. And for the life of me, cannot get it to do it again the same way. And I'm like, oh, what did I do differently? And you look back at your prompts and stuff and I'm like, okay, I look forward to that.
Yeah.
A whole movie would be such a challenge because, your main character there sometimes might look a little different. Or
there is, so for thumbnails, for YouTube thumbnails,
yes,
it would be great if I could send in some pictures of myself, right? If I could just say, hey, here's the title of the video. Here's some pictures of myself, and here's some a lot of this to do what we want. It needs to reference something there, reference an image, reference a style. And at least right now, whenever I'm doing that, the results they're just in the, I'm using ideogram for specifically speaking.
Yeah.
And it does a better job if I don't give it any kind of reference. I always love this. I always love the saying what people say, this is the worst it will ever be. To imagine that. For me, just another thing with Claude, I feel like Claude just spits out too much. Do you get that same sense too?
As a wordy person, sometimes I maybe don't, but maybe I should think it's too wordy.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. It's just me. I'm just like, whoa, you went above and beyond. And anyways.
It's funny though. It really does depend on the use case. And I feel like if I'm trying to write something, maybe, especially maybe content captions to go with something. I feel like that is, if I want to get some ideas of how I could present something, or I have kind of a rough draft of the direction I want to go, I feel like a chat GPT and I can really like knock it out of the park. But it's like having a team member. We go back and forth. I like this part. I don't like that part. I would never say that. This isn't quite right. I really like the direction of this part of the paragraph. Let's explore that more. And it really is more of a collaborative process.
Yeah.
I'm definitely not at the point where I'm like, hey, please give me 40 posts and it's going to spit out 40 it really is still, it's a tool. And I
Yeah.
think we have to lean into it being a tool that is going to help get to an even better product faster than, we would get there ourselves. But it is still a tool as part of the process. It's not replacing things yet.
Yeah. Do you ever voice chat with it? Do you use that aspect of it? Ever tried that before?
I haven't. I do a lot of audio recordings and then transcript and put that in, and for things like summaries. I do a lot of like meeting transcripts, and I started lots of these Zoom recordings. We all use, almost everyone at this point transcribes and does that kind of thing. I use Supernorm is the one that I like the most in terms of meeting transcripts. I think it comes out with the best actionable list. And then for the longest time, I was like, but what if I'm on the phone? And then, I'm like, then I feel like I wish I had that to refer back to. So a lot of times I'll, mention, hey, I'd like to record the call if it's on the phone or even in person. I actually was at a corporate setting recently, and most of the things had been on Zoom, but then we got together in the boardroom and I just said, hey, is everybody okay if I record the meeting? And everyone was kind of like, yeah, we've tried that. Like, it doesn't really work. Like it. And I said, no, and they were super impressed with the quality of the notes that came from the meeting. They were like, oh, like that worked way better than what we had done because it gave a great meeting agenda. And so I think there's just so many purposes that, sometimes even if it doesn't work a few months later, it really can.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, if I make a YouTube video, I'll let that video process until I get the automated transcripts. And then I'll go grab the transcripts from there and I'll have that, maybe make my YouTube description. I'll have
Mm-hmm.
that help me with my social posts, maybe write the email. So it's kind of I have a video first based workflow. And then I wait for that transcript and then I use it to repurpose. So,
Mm-hmm.
um,
Yeah, super powerful. It's the team member that everybody needs that, it's like once you embrace it. But it's interesting. I was at an event, a conference a few months ago, and the anti-AI group really reminded me of like the anti-eating animals people. Like when you go to the zoo and the people are like out
yeah,
front and we're like very anti-we there was like these people, and AI is such a huge topic in so many different ways and so many different, keynote presentations. And so many people were just, why are we talking about this? Why are we promoting something that's going to replace us? This is terrible. And I really think it's a better, stronger place to figure out how you could use it as a tool and get that much better. I think it's going to be a while before, I mean, certain things it will replace for sure. But I think for the most part, anything that is requires that kind of like opinion, talent, skill piece. I think that those
I
things will
just
be here for a while.
I don't know. Are you like, imagine, another bill? I'm already paying for ChatGPT. Am I going to pay for Claude? And like, is there like, I'm thinking like, if you don't have $20 a month to be up to speed on what these things can do, I think you need to have the mindset of, I've got $20 a month for this, right? Like, because I think you want to be, if there's a digital divide, it used to be, the poorer neighborhoods, they don't have a connection to the internet. There's going to be the digital divide. You could make the argument that there's going to be the AI divide as well. And so, yeah, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm here. I'm going to pay for another AI subscription, but I want to be on the side that's not ignorant for,
Totally.
for AI. And I'm to the point where I'm just like, man, I don't even know what I did before this. One of the things I do is I upload screenshots. Hey, I'm trying to find this. I'm trying to do that. I go from page to page and keep on telling it screenshots and say, how do I do this? Where do I do this? And just one step at a time. But I'm
Yeah.
really to the point where, man, I just don't know what I did before for this. I use it all the time.
Yeah. It really is that new, at one point it was the internet. And then it's like, there's all these things that go through that really change the way that we do life and business and AI is such a huge, huge part of that in today's day and age. And I think that anything that connects with it, it's like you have another tool. And in some instances, I think that like a lot of software companies have gone to adding AI because it's trendy. I noticed it actually when I was driving this summer on a road trip in the States. So many billboards talking about AI. It's like you drive down like billboard AI,
Mm,
billboard AI, billboard. I was like, holy moly. And I didn't notice that so much in Canada before. I mean, not as many
yeah.
billboards maybe, but crazy. And I think a lot of companies are like trying to stay on the how can we add AI? And so sometimes I think you're kind of like bolting it on and it's not really needed in that use case. It's kind of like trying to be part of the trend. But I think that when it's added in a way that adds value, it is such a powerful extra.
So there is, you were saying that with the voice AI that, or like when we're training these bots, you kind of say, man, I wouldn't say it that way, but you have the
Mhm.
same exact thing with the humans, like if you're critiquing their calls. And
100%.
in a small way, well, I've heard that some of the drive-throughs now are going towards AI receptionist type things, and it's like at first it's like, oh, just give me at first just give me a human, just give me a human. I'm sick of these phone trees and stuff. I remember those days, but it might get to the point where, um, yeah, we want the AI because they're better.
Think about it. And so, I mean, great drive through, great analogy. And so, and you and I were kind of chatting about how oftentimes, like if I go back and listen to even our team's call recordings, there's lots of times where I'm like, oh, I wouldn't have said it like that, or oh gosh, like, and so, if you think about AI team members, whether it's a human or a developing AI or whatever, it's still never going to be 100% perfect. And I don't think anybody wants 100% perfect because it feels weird. Because then it's as soon as it is too perfect, people are like, it sounds so robotic. What is going on? Like it's
Yeah,
you can't please everyone. But if we think about that drive-through analogy and we think, hey, like what if the AI can take the order quickly, efficiently, get it right. That whether when you ask for the iced tea, it makes sure that you get the iced tea and that you don't drive away and take your sip and think, oh, this is not iced tea, this is something else. But that person, what if they now move into the kitchen? What if they move into the delivery window? What if now the whole process just flows that much smoother? What if the food is a little fresher because there's extra people on the line and all these kinds of things? Sometimes it's not so much about just replacing someone. It's about, hey, how can we actually use this in the right spots so that because they've got a certain amount of labor expense. So it's like, okay, but what if we spend more time prepping the food or serving the customers and making sure the food that goes in the bag is actually what's supposed to be there?
yeah. I think about the self-driving cars, right?
Mhm.
And I was fascinated by that coming on, and it's like, wow, I'd never trust a robot to drive me in a car. And it's still, I haven't really actually been in a car yet. Have you been in it? Have you been in a driverless car?
No.
Yeah. Yeah. And, but when you start to think about, I mean, if it's purely statistical, like, hey, on average, if 1 million miles are driven by a human, there's 40 accidents, and we're getting to the point now where the self-driving cars are only having 4 accidents for the same amount of miles. And when you think about, like, they don't drink, they don't get tired, they have 360-degree
Mhm.
lidar and all kinds of sensors. And so I don't know, eventually, like, that'll be the preferred way.
Remember many years ago, I was leaving work. I used to work in the restaurant industry when I was going to school, and we got out and it was like so much snow, and my car was like snowed into the parking lot. And I remember talking to someone, and they said, "Hey, just call a cab. We'll dig your car out in the morning. Just get home safe. Like, don't worry about it." And I was like,
Yeah.
"Okay." So I call the cab. The cab driver picks me up. I get in, and we're driving towards this hill, and he says, "I've never seen snow before." And I grew up. I'm like, sorry? And he's like, this is my first time. I've been in Canada a short time. I've never seen snow before. And I'm thinking, oh, I think it probably would have been safer for me to drive. I've driven in snow a million times. I grew up here. I'm like thinking, and so, in that case, it would perhaps the self-driving car have been a better choice at that point? Most likely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Um, yeah, training costs, like, you to be any of those things that we are making it better. At least you don't have to do that every time you onboard somebody. I don't know. I think I am nervous about the impacts that it's going to make. You would think that going to school for higher education, becoming a software engineer would, like, kind of be a job security thing, but the AI can code, can submit code. And so, but I think that really for those that are well suited for it, it will just be like a superpower in a way, right? Just get that much more done.
Yes.
Someone still needs to have the context and to know what to do with it, I guess.
I recently I was dealing with something for kids sports, and we needed to do this social post, and it was one of those kind of situations where you had to post, but it was kind of a delicate situation. You didn't want to say too much, and it was kind of those like, what do we even say? And we need to post, but what do you say? And so the person says, hey, I ran this is what Chat GPT suggested, and I was like, okay, yep. And so then I was like, okay, well, this is what my Chat GPT said. And they were like, oh, wow. Oh, that's way better. What did you ask it? And so it was interesting because, we both were looking for the same thing, but went about it two different ways. And so as much as I think that there's something to be said for it, it's like, yes, code and this kind of thing, but you still have to know what you're asking for. It's like, you don't know what you don't know. So if you can't ask the right things, you can't give it the right context, you can't. And I think that that's kind of the underestimated part is you have to have enough vision to be able to even know what is possible, to be able to ask it for the right code in order to go the right direction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did I tell you about my little image to calendar GPT that I made?
You and I were chatting about it like personally, but it's super cool. So let's chat about it here for sure.
Did you ever try it? Do you remember? I don't know.
I have tried it. It worked very well. Yes.
It worked. Okay.
Yes.
I think like that's a great little example of okay, it's like I know what you kind of have to know what AI can do. You have to have actual problems that it can solve. So it started out with me. So as a programmer, anytime you do something multiple times, that's kind of a clue of, okay, maybe this can be automated. How could this be automated? So at first, I was just taking a screenshot of, I guess, long story short, sometimes you get calendar events, or maybe it's your school's soccer schedule or something in the mail. And basically an event is composed of a title, a date and a time and a location a lot of times. And so I just said, well, if I had an image of that, what if I could, and then I had to have the prior knowledge that I knew that a Google URL, all the URL parameters in a Google query, a Google online query can turn into that. If I basically embedded in a Google URL, if I have the title. And so having that knowledge, I was able to say, hey, here's this image. I want you to turn this into a Google URL so that I could then click on it and then it would automatically have all this stuff and I could just hit save. So I did that multiple times. And then I turned that into a GPT so that it would already know. And then and from there I could give it more. I could say, hey, if I could give it more context of like, if it doesn't have a default time, I could set the default time to be 30 minutes or an hour. I would give it the instructions, hey, I'm going to give you an image. This is what you're supposed to do. I said, maybe add a reminder, maybe add me a 15-minute reminder, but then it said, reminders are not something that you can embed in the URL. So then I said, okay, forget about the reminder. But I said, go ahead and add my wife. Here's her email address. So now I just upload an image and the GPT knows what to do. It automatically adds my wife, takes all the things, and I just click a thing and add it to my.
Which is fantastic and can be used, like you said, it can be used for just about anything because, so often you have something that works really well in most situations. It's like, I mean, we run a pretty complex or elaborate calendar system in our house. We have a touch screen. Before there's one that came out more recently. They sell it at Costco now. It's like the touch screen that goes in your house. I built my own long before this came out. And so everyone has their own Google Calendar. The kids have their own calendars. And so for a long time, we've been very diligent about putting things on the right calendars. But like you've got certain things that send you that don't go to the calendar. It's like they don't have a click. It's like my chiropractor. It's like, and I've said, hey, how come your system doesn't do this? And I'm like, oh no, I'm that person that complains about dumb things. But like, I go to the chiropractor a lot and we have 3 kids. So like for me to, and it's like, I'm always like, oh, I got the calendar. And so, so it's just those kinds of things, right? So from a business perspective, make it easy for your people. Give them an add to calendar button. But when it doesn't work, it's like say our kids play lacrosse, their schedule, you can subscribe to the calendar, but it won't add it to your calendar. I'm like, I don't want another calendar. I want it on my calendar. So in that situation, that's when I used yours. I was like, oh, when they send me I can just screenshot it and it will, very cool. Very
so
cool.
You used it. I'm happy to hear you used it.
Yeah, I'll drop the link for that because that's on your web. I got off the website, right? So I'll share the link and people can check it out. It's very cool.
So I had this custom GPT now for me personally, which was benefit I have of being the one that made it. I had to then go ahead and make another one. I basically cloned that and said, "Hey, don't invite my wife to the
don't invite your wife
one that's public, right?" So
right.
I have two of them. One that invites my wife with her email in there, and then one that I made for the public. So kind of fun. And yeah, I don't know. I've been big on these little GPTs, and I'm just kind of learning how Claude projects. I'm trying to figure out when do I use a Claude project? When do I use a custom GPT?
Yeah, it's very interesting. So many different things. I find I'm really bad for wanting to try the new things. It's like, and then I end up with these subscriptions, and then it's not until something renews and the invoice goes into your inbox that you're like, oh yeah, I was totally playing around with that.
I'm the same.
Terrible for that. But, like you said, you want to be able to try things out, know what's possible, be able to work through things and whatnot. So very cool. You and I were chatting a little bit about using ChatGPT and Go HighLevel together, which is obviously just a super powerful combination. Go HighLevel as it is very, we use it to run our business. We add it for lots of clients in different ways. You obviously work tons with Go HighLevel. So, what would you say the biggest way that you have that AI has benefited that, taking something that was already super strong, probably one of the most robust business tools out there, and then leveled it up?
Man, it's incredible what's happened in just like a year and a half. I felt like on the cutting edge I had this SMS chatbot. So with the programming background, and remember we talk about message.body. So whenever they reply, you can take that and then you could do an update contact field. So I could say, hey, can I get your first name? You would say it's Tiffany. And then I could take that response and then save it somewhere. And I was doing that back and forth. And to think that now we can ask all kinds of questions and qualify and so what AI chatbots are doing on their own, booking appointments conversationally. I use Closebot for some of that stuff. I don't know exactly where HighLevel's conversational AI is, but it's coming along. It's right there. So I think that the capabilities, and then obviously voice AI. I do have some voice AI bots. So basically, you call and the receptionist answers, and I feel like I'm a little bit behind on what all that can do. I've got one up and running, and a lot of times I feel like I'm setting stuff up and kind of pretend like, oh, this would be, but when real people call it, and you're like, wow, like they got the answer they were looking for, and no one had to get paid, and like they got serviced, and I'm just like, whoa, maybe I feel like I maybe missed the boat a little bit, because like when you see it in action, it's actually working and it's awesome. You kind of catch the vision of what it can be.
Totally. So. Yeah, I've always said knowledge is power. So knowing what some of these pieces are and being willing to say like, hey, is it possible? Is it, and taking some ideas lots of times, like you said, when you're doing something multiple times, maybe that's the time to automate it. I was talking to a client recently and they really thought that they were in the market for like a job management system. They were thinking like a jobber or something like that was going to be for them. And when we really worked through some of the challenges that they were looking for, it was Go HighLevel was actually the tool that they needed, because the challenge that they were struggling with was not actually managing the jobs. It was managing the pipeline of getting people to the jobs. It was like they were sending out quotes, but no follow-up. They were like, they sent it out and it kind of went out into the big wide world of Abyss. And if someone approved it, great. But if they didn't, maybe it never even made it to that person's inbox, but they never checked in, they never followed up. People were requesting things and it was kind of like in a notebook somewhere. And sometimes they remembered and sometimes they didn't. And so, moving to Go HighLevel was hey, we can really bring some structure to this. And they might need a system like Jobber later. But it was like, let's fill that pipeline in an organized way and make sure that we have that first part of the buyer cycle nice and organized. And then we can worry about like the next piece. But we don't necessarily need to organize this when, we don't need to organize with the jobs we don't have approved yet. We need to worry about that first workflow. So, really kind of breaking down what is the actual challenge we're trying to solve and what is the right tool to do that.
I think... Also with HighLevel, so first of all, like just having the calendars, right? So like a lot of people, Calendly kind of came on the scene, and I think you and me are now to the point where we kind of just live and die by the calendar. If it's in the calendar, I look at my calendar. I save everything goes in the calendar. That's how I coordinate with my wife. I invite her to almost everything and vice versa. And so just becoming like very calendar driven in the first place, that's like step one. And then HighLevel comes along and you can now 30 minutes before your appointment, you can text them and say, hey, your appointment's in 30 minutes. Are we still on? Right. And so like that alone was a big step up in decreasing no-show rates and just like helping everyone, make sure that they're going to be on time to the appointment. Well, kind of where I'm seeing things going with AI, and I kind of showed you some of this, it is what if AI could handle that response, right? What if they said, hey, I forgot about my appointment, or yes, we're still on. There's a lot of different things that they could say. And AI we can feed that into it, and then it can respond appropriately. And that's just one little use. But yeah, there's so many. I think for HighLevel in AI voice, AI chat, they do have AI image generation. I haven't really played with that much. I will say one cool thing. I don't know if you've considered this, but I just did this the other day. Are you familiar with like all the merge fields?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
In HighLevel. So whether it's a custom GPT or like a Claude project, right? In the instructions. So if I'm saying, hey, I want you to write an email about this, maybe returns or refunds or onboarding or whatever the email might be, it will sometimes say, dear first name. It will kind of put a variable in there, right?
Yep.
And so, but what I did was recently is I basically copied the HighLevel page and said, hey, this is the syntax, which is basically, this is the format of HighLevel's merge fields. And so if you basically, for context, if you give the Claude project or the custom GPT those merge fields, then when it makes those things, it's going to literally use the bracket contact first dot under first. Then you can copy and paste that into HighLevel.
Right. So, but I mean, that is so much like training an employee. So it's like, so you bring someone on, think about, instead of calling it ChatGPT or Claude, let's call it Sam. Sam, you've tasked Sam with writing some new customer emails. You're working on your refund policy. Sam's doing that. And you say, oh, Sam, I really like these emails. This is great. But after Sam writes them, you're actually going in and you're changing these form fields so that they go into your system better. So first, Sam, great email. Love it. Thanks. But I'm still having to do this piece. Now we're saying, hey, actually, now I'm going to train Sam. And I'm going to say, hey, Sam, if you could just use these fields instead of those ones when you're doing this, that would save me so much time. Really appreciate it. Thanks so much. And so, I mean, when you think about that as a person, you think, well, that's great. You've got your person. First, they start with one task, then you kind of build on it. They're growing, they're learning. This is great. They become more useful. Oh, and it's like when I start with a team member, I always say it's going to take at least 6 weeks for us to feel real reprieve and impact. Because by the time you train and onboard and bring all these things in, 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Until they're really making a difference. So now if you think in a GPT, you're like, hey, first we need this. It would be great if you added that. Don't forget to do these things. We always use this verbiage. All my marketing emails, I sign off the same way. So this is things that, I have said like, hey, we always say it this way. Don't say warm regards. I don't say, I'm not a warm regards kind of gal. So let's not go with that. And so, and those are the kinds of, it's so impactful when you really start to think, how can I level this up? And then give it that information. Say, hey, pretty good, but let's try this. Let's do that. Very cool.
So,
well, James, where can people learn more about these types of things? Obviously, I started following you on the YouTube channel. So much great content there. That's where I got to kind of know you a little bit to start with. So where else?
Okay. So, on YouTube, it's called The Marketing Show. Okay. And you can also go to the associated website, themarketingshow.com. I'm very active on Facebook. So my Facebook URL is facebook.com/OJ Hurst. And then if anyone wants to, if they like really want to go deeper and get a lot more one-on-one contact and get questions answered, I do have a school group. You can put a group link in the description below. And that's a paid mastermind. So would love to have
one of the things I talk about often, people have heard me say on the podcast a lot of times is, what delays success. And as someone myself, I love fiddling with things on the computer. Some people don't. That's, and so I definitely lean on the side of trying to figure things out. But I also am at the point in my business, I had this conversation recently with someone where I said, hey, like, I could try. I say business owners are very resourceful people. You can get on YouTube, you can learn lots of things. But here's the thing, doing so is at the cost of you doing something else. So if you're going to spend, sometimes hiring that professional, someone like yourself to say, hey, let's go through, I have this idea. Is this possible? Could we build it? What does that look like? What does that cost? And you might say, hey, it costs X number of dollars. And they might say, you know what? I'm not that big yet. I'm going to do this manually for a little bit longer, but I'm like such a big advocate for know what that next step costs, know when, so that when you're ready, that you're like, hey, I know what I want. I know who I'm going to deal with. I know this is, and then you can get that impact right away. That 6 weeks of hiring someone. Well, if when you implement tech, you could also say in 6 weeks, I want this to be like automated, tested, running, this to deal with these things. Because so often we're like, hey, we pay for the subscription for 2 years and it never quite gets to where they want. And then you cancel it and you're like, that never really went anywhere. But if instead we said, hey, let's get that impact right away. Let's build it. Let's make sure it's working really well. And then think of all the things that we can do with the benefit of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, we're a very specialized society, right? Like
Mhm.
you're maybe you're in QuickBooks every day. You know it like the back of your hand. I've been doing this, I've been making websites for 20 years now, kind of thing. And I was a software engineer previous to being the AI automation person, and there is no substitute for that, for just years of troubleshooting and experience and just that. Yeah, it's hard won. It's hard won experience.
Well, because you don't know what you don't know. You don't know what's possible. You don't know what the potential issues are. You don't know. And so sometimes, bringing that person in who has seen it, experienced it, been educated in it is just such a different experience. And whether that is your bookkeeping, whether that's, building your website. So often people spend so much time building a website that might look pretty, but functionally doesn't work very well. And so you look and it's like, hey, the website doesn't load from all. And so bringing in those people in the right spots, making sure that you're leaning into educated people, because if you stick in your own lane, I always say like, hey, what could you be doing with that time? Someone says, hey, I spent 40 hours building my website. It's like, well, you could have hired someone and taken those 40 hours and delivered to your customers, sold what you do, done something that you enjoy and are passionate about.
What I would like to do is pay someone to clean my house while I could go do.
Well, I mean, everybody's got their thing, and some people will be like, no, that's my outlet. I love to clean. Some people love to clean. Everybody's different, and that's the best part of life. And some people will be like, no, that's my outlet. I love to clean. Some people love to clean. Everybody's different, and that's the best part of life. Well, James, I
was just gonna say, like, do your thing well, and let us do our thing well, and we'll all benefit.
Well, James, I really appreciate you being here today and kind of sharing that, tech side of the business, and sometimes just talking about these different things gets, the wheels turning to be like, hey, well, if, sometimes it's, well, if that's possible with the calendar, I wonder if you could, and down a rabbit hole. And so learning about different things and what's possible is really the start of so much, different growth and amazing.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. If I don't know what level, if some of the things we talked about was over people's head, drop comments below and let's see if we need to recover some foundational knowledge. We can try to get you up to speed. I hate to talk over anyone, but yeah, happy to help.
Yeah, absolutely. If you have so many videos on so many different topics, so I'm sure if there's some questions, we can link some other resources and offer some even bigger impact there. That's all the time we have for today, but the conversation doesn't stop here. Be sure to subscribe to the Service-Based Business Society podcast on all of your favorite apps. And if you're hanging out over on YouTube, search for Tiffany-Ann Bottcher. Your likes, comments, and shares don't just help the show, they help more entrepreneurs find the real stories and strategies that they need to scale. Until next time, keep pushing, keep building, and I'll catch you in the next episode.